Hetepu, Dua, Duau, Anezarek, Ramech, Hotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellence to the first families, to my Nagas, Shemsaharus, Nesubitis, Mutnatart, Sebats, and Hamets, the immortal ones of Ma'at cherished, of the phenomenon of precession, New Age order, Great Golden Age of Ma'at Hapia Sar, and to all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley Cultural Cosmic Collective Consciousness Spirituality, and to all of you here today, new and returning to Karmic Dynasty. Today we are looking at the Kemetic Tarot, the Veil of Aset. Now, I had a previous broadcast and I shared the set. Hold on, where's everything's back? Okay. The set, I have some parts. I shared the set briefly. I have the creator of this set here and a guest. They will introduce themselves to you as they see fit with their opening. And again, we're going to dive into this. And this is a planned series. So stand by, stay tuned for the series. At this time, I'm going to have the creator introduce himself and share his opening and welcome with you all. And then our other guests will do the same. Gratitude to you all. Welcome to Karmic Dynasty. If you would introduce yourself to everyone and share your opening and greeting as you see fit. Gratitude.
Well, thank you. My name is Michael Coles. I designed and put together the Kemetic Tarot, and I guess we'll get into it.
Gratitude. And now we have Kaya here. Kaya, if you would introduce yourself and share your opening welcomes with everyone. Gratitude.
Hello, my name is Kaya Walton. I am a board member in the Kemetic Tarot business that with my father, heir to the dynasty. And I am here to hopefully help to teach some things about this kit too.
And we welcome you both here, and we are excited to have you here today. And let's see, Michael, if you would go ahead and get us started. This is you today. I am here to support you in you delivering your message, and you have the floor. Gratitude.
Okay. So I guess we can start. I don't know if you have the presentation. If you can show that. Yeah, today we'll walk through the presentation. We're going to show you all the cards. We're going to talk about them. And I'm out of focus. This camera's not. There we go. Basically, we're going to walk through the cards. We're going to talk about everything. And we're going to, we put this presentation together to kind of discuss all of these things, the meanings and the history, the mythology, the tales, the ancient religion, everything behind it. So, and there it goes again. I don't know why. Just a second. Making me all fuzzy. Sorry about that. My camera's not focusing. So basically, we're going to talk about the religion. We're going to talk about the ancient stories. We're going to talk about the meaning of the cards. We'll look at some of the cards. We're going to show you all the cards, but we're going to do a deep dive into a handful of them because there's 81 of them. So it would take us a very long time to go into a very detailed, analysis.
Hence the series.
Yeah, there you go. But today we'll just highlight some cards and kind of talk about them and where they come from, what they mean, what the meaning is, all that kind of good stuff.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm ready.
All right. So the first, the title page, Kemetic Tarot, Veil of Aset. The inscription. So if you look at the hieroglyphs on the left side, those hieroglyphs are actually from a famous statue at Sais, the city of Sais, S-A-I-S, which was a small Egyptian town. But this famous statue that was documented, and it was a statue of Aset, and it literally says, "I am all that has been, all that is, and all that shall be. No mortal has ever lifted my veil." And of course, the picture to the left is Aset, the goddess, with her husband Asur, and she's sitting over his mummified body. She's basically holding his body in repose and protecting him with her wings. And next slide. All right, so in this set, the Kemetic Tarot Veil of Aset comes with jumbo tarot cards. They're about 20% larger than normal cards. They're gold foil stamped and gold gilded. There's 3 bonus Tarot or major arcana cards in it. So instead of major arcana, we call them Tarot cards because they're represented by the Tarot deities. The minor arcana are called remit cards. Remit is the word for the people or mortals. There's 2 full-size books, an embroidered double-layer card bag with velvet and satin. And there's a natural red jasper stone taillette that comes with it, which is referred to as, let me grab this real quick. It's referred to as the girdle of Isis, or the knot of Isis, the veil of Aset, or the knot of Aset. It's made out of red jasper, natural stone. And you get a designer storage case with it, which looks like this. Magnetic flap. All right, so that's what comes with the kit. Nice. That's what comes with the kit. So next slide, please. So one of the questions that we get all the time about this tarot set, the Kemetic Tarot, is why did we create it? You know, there's a lot of tarot sets out there. Why did we?
And I asked that same question. And the story, y'all got to hear this. Y'all got to hear the story. Michael, tell us.
So I was researching tarot cards. I've always been a researcher of mythology and ancient religions. You know, the ancient Neteru, the ancient gods and goddesses, really all around the world, but specifically the Neteru really had an attraction for me. So I was doing my study on that, and around that same time, I was researching tarot, and I realized that there was a huge overlap in there. And one of the things that I saw was that the tarot, they claim, like the Rider-Waite Tarot, which this Chariot card you see here on the screen is from, the standard European tarot decks, they claim they're based on, quote unquote, Egyptian magic. So when I started researching this, I decided I wanted to put together a deck that's actually based on Kemetic magic. I mean, actually based on real Kemetic magic, not just with some random symbols thrown together with other symbols that don't mean anything. So why did I create the Kemetic Tarot? And if you look at this card right here, this card is the reason. This card is what made me do it. This card is what really set me off and said, I just have to absolutely do this. If you look at this card, the anonymous charioteer, the guy in the chariot, is subjugating 2 sphinxes. The sphinxes are the fiercest creatures of the Neteru, right? And the card description, if you read the card description, it actually says that he subdues them with his willpower and his mind. He doesn't need any weapons. He just, I have a big brain. I'm going to, subjugate these people, these creatures. The description also says the black sphinx represents the negative and the white sphinx represents the positive aspects of duality, which another problem for me. So when I look at this, I don't see anything based on Egyptian magic or on Kemetic magic. What I see is a European claiming that he can subjugate an entire, foreign race of people, an entire foreign race, an entire religion, with the power of his will, the power of his mind. And to me, that's a problem. I really, that just annoyed me so much that I said, I absolutely have to do this. And I have to represent the Neteru and the Kemetic, the ancient Kemetic religion in the correct way. So that card is why I did this. That card was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, and the next slide. So this is the Kemetic Tarot Chariot card, the one you're seeing on the screen right now, the Aset, the Chariot of the Gods. The Aset is the boat of millions of years. It's called the boat of millions of years. Amun-Ra rides the Aset through the sky during the day, pulling the sun behind him, and through the Duat at night, fighting all the evil in the world. Basically, he keeps the world in balance. He uses the Aset to travel as he keeps the world in balance. He travels with his Council of the Tarot, and the Aset is the vehicle he uses to provide daylight during the day and fight Isfet, or chaos, evil, at night. The Aset allows the Neteru to provide stability to the world and he maintains the cosmic balance. He keeps the world from being destroyed. All right. And to me, this is the real meaning of the chariot. This is, it's not about subjugating other religions or subjugating other cultures or anything like that. It's about, using it as a tool for good, as a tool for Ma'at, to really sort of keep that balance and maintain the balance of good in the world, maintain the good in the world. All right, so the next slide, please. Another card that really annoyed me a little bit. And this theme kind of runs through all of the cards, right? With this card, we have, this is the Magician card from the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. With this card, this guy's anonymous, right? You can't tell me anything about him. He's nobody. He's just some guy who knows some magic tricks. Great. It could be David Copperfield or who knows who he is, right? But he knows some magic tricks. Great. What does that give us, though? What does that actually mean? How powerful is he? How intelligent is he? How smart is he? How much real power does he have? Does he just do parlor tricks, or does he actually have real power? And where's this Egyptian magic that this is supposed to be based on? The only Kemetic symbol that I see in here is the infinity symbol at the top above his head, which was the earliest version of that. It actually represents the snake eating its own tail, which the Greeks called the Ouroboros, which the earliest example they've ever found was actually found on an Egyptian coffin of that symbol. That it represents infinity, and it actually comes from, Kemet. But other than that, where is the Egyptian, or the Kemetic magic in this card? There is none. And what's so special about this guy? He's just a guy. Some guy knows a couple tricks. Pick a card. Who cares? So you can take me to the next card. Show you what the Kemetic Tarot Magician card looks like. On this one, we put the goddess Aset. She is the greatest sorceress or magician the world has ever known. She was trained in magic by the Neteru Tahuti and Khonshu. She tricked Amun-Ra into giving him his power, into giving her his power. She was called cleverer than a million gods, more devious than a million men. We know her story. We know her. We know all her stories. We know all about her. We know who Aset is. We know how powerful she is. We know what she's capable of. She's not some anonymous, street magician, right? That we don't know anything about. Also, the card is full of Kemetic symbols. If you look at the symbols, for instance, inside the card in the actual image, she has the Tayet on her crown. She has the horns, which are the classic Kemetic symbol of the cow horns, or the classic Kemetic symbol of maternity. She has her wings, because she's closely associated with the bird, with several birds actually. She has the sword, the Khopesh sword, on her right armband. She's carrying the Was scepter, and the Was scepter is a scepter that has the head of an animal on it, possibly a jackal, or they never identified what the animal is exactly. Could be a jackal or a set beast or any number of animals, but it actually represents the ultimate in divine authority. So it's the scepter that you'll see most of the Neteru carrying. She also has the Shin ring on her chest. The Shin ring represents eternal protection. She has the scarab around her waist belt, her sash, which represents resurrection and the earth. She has the Ankh in her hand, the Ankh being the hieroglyphic symbol of life. She also has the Amun-Ra's solar disc on her crown. And that's just in the picture. If you go around the edges, you'll actually see that each of these cards has hieroglyphs all around the inner frame of the border on the front side. Those hieroglyphs actually spell out verses from the Book of the Dead, or spells from the Book of Coming Forth by Day. If you lay them side by side, it spells out complete verses, each card. So these cards, we've really tried to imbue them with all of the Kemetic magic from the Book of Coming Forth by Day, or the Book of Dead. So why do we create it? Basically to share the knowledge that the ancestors left us, which is, it's all of our universal inheritance. We've inherited this. This is our inheritance. So we want to share that knowledge with everyone. And to me, that's important, to get that information out there, get all that knowledge out there, and let people understand, what we've been left, what we've been given. We do that by sharing our research of the ancestors' writings, completely unfiltered. There was a really, really bad movie a few years ago that I made a mistake of watching it. It's called The Gods of Egypt. Terrible movie. Terrible. They filtered, they whitewashed it. They filtered, the ancient stories through a Hollywood lens, and it just came out pure garbage. I just want to get past all that, right? And that's a big part of this. Also, we're trying to show the receipts for the ancient Kemetic magic. So what is ancient Kemetic magic? Where did it come from? What does it actually mean, right? And we did that by going back and finding the stories in a lot of the old scrolls, a lot of the old papyrus. We compared modern, different translations that we found to some of the originals. We did a lot of that kind of research to kind of pull it all together and, kind of bring some of these different traditions together. I mean, even back in ancient Kemet, there were different traditions depending on which city you were in, right? There was a Memphis tradition where the Neteru Ptah was the highest among the gods. He was higher than Amun-Ra. But eventually Memphis was kind of taken over by other, larger towns, larger cities, and Amun-Ra, came out on top, but Ptah was still important to the pantheon. So we kind of brought some of those traditions together and, tried to make them, make sense where they didn't contradict each other flat out, right? And also, provide an introduction or additional understanding of the tarot. If you're going to say it's based on Egyptian magic or Kemetic magic, make it based on that. Don't just throw a bunch of random symbols together and say, oh yeah, no, that's not going to work. All right, so that's our reason for doing this. So, do we have any questions so far? I know we've gone almost 20 minutes, and
You're good.
Okay.
And the great thing is, I told you, that's why there's the importance of planning for a series, because there is so much to learn, to know from this deck and the books. I have been in them myself, studying since I received it, the package, and it's a learning opportunity. So I know, let's talk about what we have planned as far as the series right quick. If Kaya would speak to us about the guests that will be joining us for the tarot readings in the future, and then also speak however you want to speak on how you feel fit to speak more on the set. And then I'd like to talk about the giveaways. Michael, you're giving away sets.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk to Kaya first. Kaya, again, welcome to Karmic Dynasty. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. The person that is coming, her name is Lady Ma'at. She is very deeply, like my father, into ancient Egyptian history, and she is very into tarot reading and just spirituality. She's a very spiritual person. She's and excited to meet you and to meet your, you're following your base. I'm trying to find the right words to speak. So yeah, that's yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
So
sharing that.
so we had talked, and we kind of had thought about bringing in a professional reader in, and Kaya knows Lady Mayat well, and she's just gonna come in and basically show us how to use the cards and really, how you can get the best possible readings out of them.
Okay. And Michael, you were talking about giving away some of these sets.
Oh, did I say that?
And the amount that you said, I said, hold up. We give them all away in one episode. How about a series? So everyone who has the opportunity today to get a free set during the live video. Now you would have to be, of course, everything's not free, huh? They say that. You'd have to be willing to contact me during the live and give me your shipping address. Oh, and the trivia question, you have to answer it correctly. So, as far as free, those are the terms. Now, but yeah, I was like, so the people who are joining today will have an opportunity to come back and try again on another broadcast, and or invite a guest, a friend, someone would be interested, so they can have the opportunity to tune in. Listen carefully. There's going to be some trivia. Answer the question. Send me, my information's in the ticker below, your shipping address, and you will get a set for free. Now, Michael, can you talk to us about also the value? Let's not say value. How much somebody have to pay for this when they order from you versus getting one for free today or on another episode?
Yeah. So right now they're $89.99, about $90 on Amazon, which is actually
Amazon.
On Amazon. Yeah.
Your product, your gift to us, this treasure is on Amazon.
Yep.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's absolutely on Amazon. I'll tell you what. Before we go into it real quick, we will definitely be giving some away, through the different episodes, and we'll get everything going. But I actually have a website that I'm in the process of setting up. Right now I have the major arcana cards, and I have some of the tarot cards, and I have some of the minor arcana or the remnant cards on there as well. That gives complete full descriptions of every card with full images and everything else. It's KemeticTarot.net, KemeticTarot.net, KemeticTarot.net. I'm setting up the website to have just all the information that I can possibly put together about these cards, stuff that I couldn't fit in the book. There'll be additional information in there, definitions for different words that you'll run across that, the old Kemetic words that you may not be familiar with. It's all going to be on this website.
I'm glad you shared that because, yes, someone just asked about the website. I typed it in the comment section and I don't know where it went. Again, it's KemeticTarot.net.
Yeah.
I'm going to add it to your banner. And so have you decided?
It's still under construction, so please be kind. It's still under
construction. All right.
I'll have it done shortly. But there is a lot of information up there already.
Okay. Have you decided when we're going to have our first trivia question to give away our first set today?
Today, I assume.
I mean, what time? Like now? or 5 minutes from now?
Well, we haven't really put any information out, and I was thinking that
Not much.
we
Okay.
probably want to talk about the cards a little bit, and then put out a trivia question about the cards, if that's
All
okay.
right. Let's do that. Yeah, it's
All
okay. That's what you say.
right.
I'm for what you say.
All right. So this right here just really quickly talks about the back of the cards, right? The card backs, the fronts and the backs are gold stamped. The edges are gold gilded. The card back has a lot of symbolism on it, as well as the front. The back, you have the Tayet symbol at the top and the bottom in the middle. It's a symbol of fertility and protection associated with the goddess Aset. You have hieroglyphs around the border, and the hieroglyphs around the outer border are actually the activation spell for the Tayet. There's actually in the Book of Going Forth by Day, or the Book of the Dead, there's an actual activation spell in there that actually imbues it with power, that imbues it, kind of recharging the battery on it, right?
And it includes rose water.
Rose water.
I did mine.
Nice.
I did
I
mine.
actually did mine too.
Yeah, I'm
Rose
pretty
water,
sure.
exactly. You do. In fact, well, you know what? I'm not gonna do it right now. I'll do it on maybe the next episode. I'll actually show the activation spell and how it works. But yeah, you just put rose water in a little bowl and wash the Tayet in it while reciting the spell over it. It's a very short spell, but it's supposed to recharge it with the protective powers of a set. The shin rings, or the little circles with the sticks tied to the bottom, in the center part are symbols of eternal protection. And they also have hieroglyphs inscribed on them, and those hieroglyphs are the same hieroglyphs from the statue of Aset at Sais. I'm all that has been, all that will be, And the right eye of Heru is in the center of the shin ring. The right eye of Heru actually is the Wajet. It means the complete one. It actually represents the sun. His left eye actually represents the moon. Apparently, the left eye was the one that was damaged. That Set actually took a swipe at him and damaged his left eye. So it represents the moon. But yeah, that covers the back. So if we can go to the next slide. The full card, the most important card in the deck. The full card is in this particular deck is Ani. Ani is a Kemetic scribe who actually had a personalized Book of the Dead written. And I don't know how familiar everyone is with the Book of Coming Forth by Day, Book of Going Forth by Day, or the Book of the Dead, but it's kind of like a Kemetic religious text, a burial text, almost like a Bible, right? Like a Kemetic Bible, you could call it. There you go. And the thing about the Book of Coming Forth by Day, or the Book of the Dead, and the translation that Kai is holding up is actually the best translation I found yet. The Budge translation that's free on the, it's free to download or whatever, total garbage. This one is actually very good. They really do a good job. But basically, this book was like a personalized Bible. If you imagine a Bible or a religious book, and you went to a scribe or a priest and you said, look, I want you to write a personalized Bible for me. I want you to put my name in it. I want you to include this chapter and this chapter and this chapter, leave out these other chapters. That's what the Book of the Dead really was. And that's why you'll find basically no two copies are the same. Whenever they find a copy, there's overlap. There's chapters and verses and spells that are the same. There's a lot of stuff that's different. And also it's personalized to each person. So your name would appear all over the place in this thing. Wherever there's a spell, they just put your name right in the middle of the spell. Wherever there's a verse about, praise to a deity, to the tarot, they would put your name in there. All right. So we can go back real quick. So the best copy that they found is the one of Ani, the one that Ani left behind, that he had personally made for him. Next slide. So Ani is the hero of the Kemetic Tarot. He's the fool. He's the hero. He's the mortal traveler, traveling the underworld, traveling through the world, traveling through the underworld. And his goal is to get to paradise, to get to the Aru, the land of reeds. As you can see, again, you have the hieroglyphs all around the outer border on the front that spell out verses from the Book of the Dead. He's stepping out onto the path. He's actually, in this scene, he's actually just entering the underworld. He's come down the mountain. He's come through the first gate, and he's beginning his journey through the Duat, the land of the dead, on his journey to get to the Aru, to get to paradise. And of course, there are dangers that he has to get past on either side, whether it's man-eating crocodiles, poisonous snakes. The only thing he carries with him is a scroll and a small bag of scribal tools because he was a scribe, and that just represents his wisdom and his copy of the book of the dead, or the book of going forth by day.
Okay, question right quick. Is the set available in the UK, Amazon?
It should be available. Well, it should be available for shipping to the UK, but we don't have any on Amazon.com.uk.
Okay.
I think Amazon puts them on there.
All right. And we are moving forward to the next slide. Okay.
Okay, so the Neteru cards are the next important cards. The Neteru cards are, Neteru means, as everyone knows, divine energies or forces of nature, and they're personified by the Kemetic deities. Neteru cards represent sort of the big picture concepts: nature, divinity, the supernatural, just the cosmic level things that we have to deal with. Each Neteru card features divine entities, supernatural forces, spiritual concepts, and they're personified by Neteru and by supernatural forces and objects on the cards themselves. And all the Neteru cards have an inner border that's bordered in purple. Can you go back one real quick? So on this card, if you notice, the inner border on the Ani card is gold foil. The inside thick border is gold foil. That's just a visual indicator that this is the full card, right? Okay, so if you can skip ahead one more. And one more. There we go. On the Neteru cards, the inner border is purple, is royal purple, to indicate that these are the Neteru or the major arcana cards. It's just a quick visual indicator so you can tell the cards apart, like really quickly. And in the case of the minor arcana, you can, as we'll get into, you can tell which elements they represent. So we already talked about the Aset card, the sorceress card, which is equivalent to the Rider-Waite Tarot magician card, but much more powerful. The High Priestess card is Nebet Het. She's standing in a temple, and there's a lot of things built into these cards. A lot of things that are taken from, where we actually taken the original meanings of the hieroglyphs and the various things that are built into it and sort of incorporated into the cards. For instance, Nebet Het, she, like her sister Aset, she's closely associated with birds. So she has feathers as well. She is the high priestess, so she's standing in a temple, as you can tell by the columns behind her. The columns behind her have hieroglyphs on them. Those hieroglyphs actually spell out the names of the Ogdode, or the original eight primordial deities. Around her headband, you see in her crown, she has, her crown is in the shape of her hieroglyphic symbol, which is the house with a bowl on top, or a basket on top. That bowl or basket that's on top actually represents sort of the cornucopia, right? What we call the cornucopia, the horn of plenty. It represents a bounty of food, lack of a want, a great harvest. It really represents all of those things. So we've actually gone the next step and actually shown that this is what this represents by filling it with actual crops that the ancient Kemetic people would have harvested, their normal crops. Okay, she also has the Bennu bird on her crown, and the Bennu bird is a sacred form of Amun-Ra, which Nebuchadnezzar is sworn to protect. And she carries the lotus scepter. By the way, if you notice, there's different scepters. There are actually dozens of scepters that the pharaohs used, ceremonial scepters that the pharaohs used that were associated with different Neteru. And you'll see those represented throughout the cards, just dozens of different kinds. Each one has different meanings. They all ultimately represent authority or power or, divine right to rule or, various aspects of that. But they all represent like different levels of that. So you'll see these scepters represented all throughout the cards, just literally all over the place. All right, Moot, the Empress, and she has her vulture, her sacred vulture on her head, as well as the double crown, the red and white double crown, the red Deshret crown, and the white crown of I forget which one represents which, but it basically represents rule of upper and lower Kemet, the rule of the two lands. All right, next one, please. Okay, Amun-Ra, the Emperor. You can see all the symbolism that's in here. We have his solar disk on top of his red crown. He has the...
Right quick for me, if I could.
Yes.
Okay, when I see the Emperor card, especially after all the preparation for our video,
yes,
for the presentation,
yes,
could you right quick speak about the importance of the cards looking like us and how you placed in there some figures, some public figures?
Yes, very good. Yeah, if you can just go back in there and we'll
all right
up real quick.
Okay.
So Amun-Ra, Amun-Ra is the Emperor. He's the Emperor card. You'll notice through these cards that there's a theme to these cards, right? You'll notice the theme is that they are ancient Kemetic deities, but they are largely based on African American sort of inspirations, right? So you're not going to see a lot of European influence in these cards. With Amun-Ra, his image is actually inspired by a younger picture of Martin Luther King Jr. Now, it's not an exact, I didn't try to do like an exact, copy of his image or something like that, but it's inspired. It's meant to be inspired by the image of Martin Luther King because, to be honest, who else could be the emperor? I mean, literally nobody. There's no one else that could be the emperor. That's literally it. And if you go back one slide, because I did skip over that one real quick. Moot, the empress. Moot actually means mother, right? In ancient Kemet, it's the word for mother. The empress is Maya. Is inspired by Maya Angelou, by an earlier picture of Maya Angelou. And again, it was another question of who else could be the empress. I mean, literally who? It's like there's very few people on that level that can really reach, that have attained those levels, right? And there's a few other cards that are inspired by popular figures or historical figures that you may not have ever even heard of, right? Like, for instance, well, we'll get to it when we get to it, but Okay. So we can
Okay,
just go to
so
the next card.
yeah,
Oh,
you're on
yeah.
Tahuti now, or you were still
Yeah.
on, the Emperor card actually.
Yeah. So the Emperor card, you see he's carrying the Wa scepter, he's carrying his Ankh, he has a solar disc, all of the symbolism that represents Amun Ra is there, the falcon on his shoulder. It's all in there, right? He's sitting in his essentially in his temple slash palace on a golden throne with plenty of jewels on it to sort of indicate his level of glory. And then we have Tahuti, who is standing in the Great Library of Alexandria. Tahuti is a moon god. He's the Hierophant. And his titles included Tahuti, 3 times great, which the Greeks actually stole. I don't want to get too far into this, but God, once I start talking about it, I can't stop. The Greeks, when they went into Egypt, right, because they actually assumed rule over Egypt or over Kemet for like 300 years. When they went in, they actually assimilated all of the Kemetic deities. And the way they did that was they said, okay, we're going to take these Kemetic deities and we're going to say, this is the same as a Greek god. This guy's the same as a Greek god. Or this guy's the same as a Greek goddess, right? With Tahuti, with Amun Ra, for instance, what they did was they combined him. They said, this is Zeus. This is the same guy as Zeus, right? The guy we call Zeus, that's Amun Ra, same thing. So they started calling him Zeus Amun because they combined the two. With Tahuti, they sort of did the same thing. They said Tahuti is as far as we're concerned, Tahuti is Hermes, the Greek god Hermes, right? The god of communication and travel and whatever, right? And they actually came up with a new name for him, but instead of calling him Hermes Tahuti, they called him Hermes Trismegistus, which some of you may have encountered that, online, running across stuff. But Trismegistus means 3 times great. One of Tahuti's titles, the 3 times great. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Once I start talking about this stuff, I can't stop.
It's all right. That's what we're here for. I promise. We have our listening ear. We have the pen and paper. We're taking notes in some manner today. You're doing excellent. I'm glad to have you here. For real. So I'm glad you're sharing. Because everyone knows you're here. You're new. We're definitely not scripted here. So when my guests come on, sometimes they're like, what questions will you ask me so I can prepare? I don't prepare. We flow, we go. So if Michael, if you like to, I bring up the PowerPoint, we can continue with Tahuti.
Yeah. So, and by the way, that's a good point to remember. One of Tahuti's titles was Tahuti, the 3 times great. Just keep that in mind for later. All right. Let's go back to the slide.
For later. Okay, so just trivia time. Gotcha.
Just keep it in mind for later. All right, Aset and Asor, the lovers. Of course, Aset and Asor is, or as the Greeks knew them, Isis and Osiris. But Aset and Asor, the greatest love story ever told. I swear to God, the greatest tragic love story ever told, and one of the first tragic love stories ever told. Right. For those who aren't familiar with it, Aset is killed by his brother. His son grows up in the wilderness. Mother raised the son out in the wilderness at Heru. Heru has to come back. The son has to fight the evil uncle for control of the throne, to recover the throne. It's the Lion King, right? If you've seen the Lion King, this is the story of Aset and Asor, right? The only difference being in the Lion King, they downplayed the role of the goddess and elevated the fight between the father and the son and the uncle. But it's literally just ripped out of history. They ripped that movie out of history, put their own spin on it, turned it into animals. Boom. There you go. Aset and Asor. So the whole story is just tragic, but it involves a lot of magic. It involves a lot of powerful themes. It involves the resurrection of a sword, and it involves well, let me put it this way: it involves resurrection. It involves divine birth, right? And I guess I could ask, where else have you heard these kind of stories before? Pretty
Sure.
common. There you go.
The pastor at the pulpit.
Exactly. Divine conception, divine birth, resurrection. These are all themes. The Kemetic.
Speaking of which, ain't that Easter on its way? Resurrection. I just thought I have a calendar that I refer to these days.
Nice.
Refer to. It's not that. Yeah, Easter. But you said resurrection story came. I said, and Asar is
resurrection.
Has to do with the resurrection story.
Yeah. The
interesting.
The Kemetic people changed what it means to be a god, what it means to be a deity, right? If you go back and read Greek mythology, right? What does it mean to be a god, right? What does it mean to be superpower? Well, it means you just have a bunch of powers. You can do things normal people can't do. That's great, right? Wonderful. Basically, you go out, you do things that people can't do. You cause a lot of trouble for people. I mean, in Greek mythology, that's what the gods do. They cause problems, right? They don't help anyone. They just literally go around causing problems with everyone. They create monsters. They punish people who they think have offended them for some reason. They destroy people for no reason. I mean, just ridiculous, right? The Kemetic people, when the Greeks went into Egypt, they literally changed what it meant to be a god for the Greeks, for the Romans, and literally for all of Western civilization. In Kemet, what it meant to be a god was that you had power over death, that you could resurrect. That is what a god can do. Gods have power over death. So that kind of bleeds into, Western religion, Western culture, and you kind of see that sprouting up. What does that mean in Western religion when they start picking up those little things? Well, to be a god or to be a relative of a god, like, I don't know, a son of a god or something like that, you have to have power over death. You can't just, do card tricks. You have to actually have power over death, which means you can resurrect. Otherwise, you're not as powerful as the Kemetic gods. If you're not as powerful as the Kemetic Tarot, then, why should I be worshiping you? So they literally changed what it meant to be a god for all of Western civilization. All right, but yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on another tangent. I do that. Joy.
And we enjoy it. We enjoy it. We do.
Oh man. Oh. Okay. So in this one, we have the Atet, the chariot. We've already talked about this one briefly. One thing I will point out is you notice that when Amun-Ra rides on the Atet, he carries a crew with him, and the crew changes, depending on who drew the hieroglyphs at the time. But Tahuti is almost always with him, and Mayat is almost always with him, right? Occasionally, you'll see some of the other deities with him, but they are almost always with him every single time he goes out on the Atet. If you notice Mayat, right? If you look at Mayat, look at her picture. This is another one that's based on a historic, inspired by a historic figure. She's actually based on a woman named Jane Bolin, who was the first African-American female judge in the United States. She was appointed to the family to be a judge in family court in New York in, I don't know, the 1940s, I believe. But she was the very first female African-American judge in this country. All right, we go on to Sekhmet. Sekhmet also known as the Eye of Amun-Ra or the Eye of Ra. She is one of the what they would call the Uraeus gods or goddesses. I'm sorry, Uraeus goddesses. There were certain Neteru goddesses who were closely associated with the Eye of Amun-Ra, the Eye of Ra, right? They were closely associated with him, and Sekhmet was one of them. She actually was known as the Fury of Ra, or the Vengeance of Ra. She would go out and literally, destroy. She was sworn to destroy all his enemies. As you can see, she has the Eye of Amun-Ra and the Uraeus Cobra on her crown. She's carrying the Sekhet scepter, and of course, she has the standard Kemetic sword, which is the Khopesh, sword, which is the sword that when you think Kemetic swords or even ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet swords, weapons, this is the sword you think of, the sickle sword. It's the sword that was the preferred sword. It's a sort of a hacking, slicing sword. It's not really for like pointy, stabby stuff, but it's very, very dangerous, very deadly, and it was the preferred weapon of choice for the Pharaoh's armies. All right, Noon is the hermit. Noon is the watery abyss that surrounds all of creation, and it's from the Noon that Amun-Ra literally pulled up the Bin Bin mound and self-created himself and created the world and the universe and all of the people in it. He literally pulled up from the Noon, pulled it out of the watery abyss. The Noon was personified. He started out as being alone in the universe because he was literally just alone. Now, one of the things about the Noon is Noon actually, it means, it's a reference to the watery abyss, but it means things like inert, unmoving, just, all of these things that basically indicate that, he's sort of asleep, right? Not really awake or alive or anything like that. But Noon was basically alone in the universe. His hands are raised because he's generally pictured carrying the Aset. He's generally pictured carrying it in the air with his hands raised like this. So he provides the path for the Atet or the Atet to travel. All right. Okay, and the next card. Shai and Renanutet, the Wheel of Fortune. Basically, Shai was fate or destiny. Renanutet was the goddess of the harvest, the Cobra goddess of the harvest. And she basically, and the goddess of luck. So she determined your luck like day to day. So together, you have Shai. There you go. You have Shai, who basically says, this is how prosperous you're going to be over your life. This is where you're going to end up. This is how your destiny is going to go, right? And then you have Renanutet saying, okay, well, today you're going to have good luck. Tomorrow you're going to have bad luck. The next day you're going to have good luck. So you have that combination of the two determining exactly what happens to you throughout your life and day to day. And of course, in that image, Renanutet is using her tail to spin the wheel of fortune. And Shai is actually using an ostrich feather, the feather of Ma'at, and a sundial to actually mark off the span of a man's life, because he determined when you died as well on a sundial. All right, Amit represents, there you go, the feather of Ma'at. That's it. So Amit is the devourer of souls, they call her. She was the ruler of Amenta, the lands to the west. She basically lived in a lake of fire, or near a lake of fire. She was part crocodile, part lion, part hippopotamus. The three most dangerous man-eating animals known to the Kemetic people at the time. Her role was at the final judgment in the Hall of Two Truths. if your heart weighed more than the feather of my eye, then your heart would be fed. Anpu would literally feed your heart to Amit. And when your heart, your Ib, is fed to Amit, you're done. That's it. It's like you never existed. You go back to nothing.
Now, before we move forward, this is one of my favorite cards. And we discussed the why, the how. Now, whenever I've seen this image, it's not, to me, this brings, it shares feminine qualities to whereas, not just, there's like everywhere so far until I seen this, it was like a generic representation. To
Well,
me,
yeah. Well, Amit
it looks like a whole outfit. You know what I mean? I've not seen a wardrobe when it comes to the personification, to the representation of. I've not. So I appreciate this card.
Yeah. Well, Amit is very special in that she is a Natero. She is a force of nature, but she wasn't really counted as one of the cosmic deities, right? With the power of Amun Ra, she was considered more of a demon, but her job was not really, to spread chaos or evil like I don't know, Apep, right? The great snake that Amun Ra fights every night in the Duat. Her job was literally to dispense justice. If you were a bad person, she ate your heart. That's it. You were punished. That's literally her job. So she's not really a bad person. She's not really a bad guy. She just has a bad job. All right. The Sphinx. All right. We talked earlier about the Sphinx representation on the European tarot cards, which I wasn't really happy with. Kind of annoyed me. The Sphinx was the Sphinx is a threshold guardian, right? He literally guards the boundaries between the land of the living and the land of the dead, right? Between Kemet and the Duat. He guards the boundaries between the subconscious and the conscious mind. He guards the boundary between reality and dreams. He's a guardian that basically his job is to keep the unworthy from ever entering, right? And to do that, you have to be pretty powerful. You can't be subjugated by some guy in a chariot to pull his crap around. The Sphinx also, famously, one of his jobs in the old stories is to stop travelers along the way, test them, usually with riddles or some sort of a test of skill. And then basically, if they failed, the Sphinx would kill them. The Sphinx literally would just kill that person. So you either passed or you died. Now, the thing about threshold guardians is if you can defeat them, and you can't defeat them by force, right? You can't defeat the Sphinx by force. He's too powerful. You can't beat him up and run off. You can't kill him. You literally have to outsmart him. You have to know the answers to his riddles. You have to know, there you go. You have to know how to outsmart him. But once you outsmart him, and this is true of threshold guardians, many types of threshold guardians, once you have defeated him, they become allies. They become powerful allies. They'll actually help you in your journey. All right. So the next one. Okay, here we have Anpu, who the Greeks knew as Anubis, the Natero of death. And he is he's standing near his scales, about to weigh a heart. And he's carrying his Ankh scepter. You have Mayat, who represents temperance in this deck. And she's holding her scales. And Ani is bowing before her. On 15, you have Set, which is the devil card. Of course, the devil card doesn't really mean like the Christian devil evil thing or whatever. I mean, even in the standard tarot, it doesn't mean that. What it generally means is that you're being bound by something. right? So it's a card that means that you're being held back, right, for some reason. And if we look at the card real quick, you'll see that in this case, the devil is Set, the god of chaos, the Netero of chaos, ruler of the red lands. And he's binding those two people. Yeah, he has the rope around those two people. He's holding the rope. He also has a scepter with lightning. One man, the man is on his knees crying. The woman is flying around, just in sort of a state of ecstasy, And what that indicates is that these two people are bound by their emotions, right? Their extreme emotions are what's really binding them, really holding them back at this point, right? But if you look at the card closely, you can actually see the ropes around them are actually pretty loose. They can slip out of those if they wanted to. They're not being held very tight. So really, it's just a matter of, okay, you're being held back, but you're sort of holding yourself back. So that's sort of the meaning behind that card. And as you can also see on the card, there's a lot of chaos in the background, a lot of crazy stuff going on with the small wind tornadoes and all that kind of stuff going on. The pyramid. The pyramid actually replaces the tower card in the Rider-Waite Tarot. We have the Eye of Heru at the top. We have lightning striking and cracking it. You see there's a lot of destruction, a lot of chaos going on there. And that's what the pyramid means. It's sort of a chaotic scene. It's an upheaval. It's a major change, right? Something really big is happening. Something major is really causing issues or potentially could cause problems if you don't avoid it or figure out how to deal with it. The Newt card is the star. Newt is the goddess that represents the Netero goddess who represents the galaxy, the cosmos, and the sky. She's generally pictured in hieroglyphs. You'll see her in paintings. You'll see her stretched out, sort of on her hands and toes, stretched out, arched over over the world, over the land, and really over her husband, Geb, who we'll get into later, who represents the earth. But she plays an important role because she provides the passageway for Amun-Ra's Atet to travel through every night. He literally flies the boat, sort of, the Atet into her mouth and then is reborn every day through the other end. And that's how he travels to the Duat. She provides the portal for him to get to the Duat and allows him to be reborn every day. All right. Khonshu, the moon. Of course, there's a lot of symbols here. On his belt is his name. He's carrying the crook and the flail, as well as the Waz scepter. A lot of symbolism representing the unconscious. The water below represents the unconscious. The little crab down there is a water animal, water representing the unconscious. You have a domesticated dog, as well as a wild jackal down there, both howling at the moon. That represents, sort of the wilderness and and civilization in conflict with each other. You have the towers in the background. So there's a lot of symbolism built into this card. Around his neck is a sacred symbol of who is it? Hathor, sacred symbol of Hathor, which represents protection. All right. And of course, he's a moon god, so he has the moon in his crown. All right. And the next one, Aten, the sun. Aten is the sun disk. Literally, he was the sun disk. They declared him a god. The pharaoh Akhenaten declared that he was the one true god. There's no other gods at one point. He turned around and, of course, people didn't really like that. So after he died, they kind of reverted back to the old religions. But for about, 30 or 40 years, Aten was the only god. The worship of Aten was the only state religion. He's always depicted as the sun disk with rays pointed out with hands reaching down at the end of the rays. And in this case, you can see this card represents peace, tranquility, sort of a mildness. You have a couple guys on the river fishing, and having, just relaxing, and the sun's coming down and the hands are coming down, kind of warming up the scene. So 20, the Hall of Two Truths. This is the Judgment card. This card actually depicts the entire scene of the judgment in the Hall of Two Truths. Yeah. Now, in the Hall of Two Truths, you have Amet down at the bottom waiting to eat the heart. You have Ani standing there. His heart's about to be weighed on the scales by Anpu. You have the sons of Heru on the sides, sort of in the hieroglyphs. They are all advisors to Asur at this point. A little higher up, you have Mayat standing observing the proceedings to make the final pronouncement. You have Tahuti, who is standing there. He actually acts as the prosecutor and the scribe during the proceedings whenever you're being at the final judgment. When you're being when you're brought to the final judgment, he literally has to basically argue against you as well as write everything down that happens. You have Asur sitting in the middle, just waiting for the judgment to be pronounced so that he can basically sign off on it and send you on your way, either send you into the Aru, which is the Aru is shown in the back. Can you go back to the slide real quick? The Aru is shown in the back. There's a door open, and you see there's palm trees back there and a little river going in the background. That is the Aru. That is Asur's paradise, the land of reeds. And if he passes this test, Ani will be on his way there. So this is sort of a complete scene of the final judgment. 21, Geb, the world. He represents the world, and his behind him you have the sorry, my head is the cartouche, right? A cartouche is just it's a long shin ring. The shin ring is the little round circle of protection with the sticks tied to the bottom and the lines on it. The cartouche is sort of a same thing, but it's an oval, right? So that's what you have here is an oval, and the cartouche is used in hieroglyphs to represent, to enclose and protect names of important people, names of pharaohs, sometimes names of Neteru. Just my camera's going crazy, but Neteru basically, right? So basically, important people, important deities, important people. You have on this cartouche. You have in the four corners, representing the four corners of the earth, you have humans, you have goose, you have snakes, and you have bulls, which are, sacred animals of Geb. There's also plenty of plants growing up there, plenty of crops growing on it. They're all represented because he's the god of the harvest. He's holding grain. He's also holding his wise scepter. And he's literally flying up in the air towards his wife, Nu. All right. Now, these cards, these Neteru cards, have no comparison in the Rider-Waite Tarot. There's nothing equivalent. Nothing exists, right? These are additional cards represented in the Kemetic Tarot that just do not exist over on the Rider-Waite side. So first we have Bes, and Bes is the lion dwarf god who is the guardian. Now he was not a cosmic deity like Amun-Ra or some of the others. He was more of a household deity, right? And they had amulets to him. They would draw his image on walls, on. They put his picture on everything. They found more images of him, of Best, than of any other deity, in all of Kemet. They literally found, and in fact, they found his. He was actually sort of worshipped, I guess, or used as a protective deity all the way through the Middle East, all the way through the Middle East, out into Asia. They found his images literally everywhere. So he was very, very popular. He was a lion dwarf god, wasn't very pretty. He was one of the few deities that they actually showed facing forward. If you notice in hieroglyphs, they usually face sideways. He was one of the few that they actually consistently drew facing forward, looking at you. He had the face of a lion. He was a dwarf, so he had very short legs, and he had just all kinds of protective powers. You might think of him today, the equivalent today in our world might be something like a lucky rabbit's foot or something like that, just sort of a lucky icon. But they put his image on literally everything. They found his image on weapons. They found his image on tools, on walls and nurseries, and cosmetic kits that women use for makeup. I mean, you name it. Bastet, the comforter. Her name literally, Bastet, literally means ointment jar. She is the comforter. She's a protector of women and children, primarily. But she also brings comfort. As you can see, she is carrying her instrument, which she uses sort of a rattle, sort of a metallic rattle that she uses to the sistrum, right? It's called a sistrum, with the lion head on it. That's her sacred instrument, and she uses that to sort of entertain children or to calm people down, help people relax. And she's carrying the Ankh, the symbol of life. She's actually considered a sort of a distinct personality of Sekhmet. So Sekhmet is the fierce side, and Bastet is the more comforting side of the same deity. And we have Weret Hekau. Now, the ancient Kemetic word for magic is Heka. That is also the name of the deity that they personified magic with. It was Heka, right? However, Heka, you can think of it like a giant battery, right? Okay, it's a lot of magic and it's stored up, a lot of power it's stored up. What are you going to do with it? What can you possibly do with all this magic? It's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. That's where Weret Hekau comes in. Weret Hekau means words of power. And words of power is how you actually invoke magic, how you use magic and control it, right? And Weret Hekau is a snake deity, snake goddess deity, who basically, with wings, by the way, but she basically is how you control magic. She is sort of she's sort of the source of useful magic, right? She actually controls Heka, which was always interesting to me, that you have the Weret Hekau, who's a female deity, and she's controlling the male deity, the magic. Of course, the magic deity Heka, he totally useless without her. Without some way to use his powers, which is what Weret Hekau provides, he's not a useful person, not a useful deity. You can think of her as sort of the power behind the sorceress card, behind Aset. Aset has to invoke words of power every time she wants to use magic, every time she wants to invoke it. And I'm about to get sidetracked again. So an interesting thing about magic, they believed, the ancient Kemetic people believed, spoken words or written words were equally powerful, right? So it didn't matter if you were writing it down. It didn't matter if you were saying it out loud. Words are words. They're just powerful by their nature. And in many cases, they've actually found on coffins where they had to draw the symbol for a dangerous animal like a crocodile or a cobra. And they would literally change those symbols slightly, just change them a little bit to make them less dangerous because they believed that those symbols could actually come to life and harm you. So they were very careful to take a lot of steps to make sure that stuff like that didn't happen. You know, that alligator is not going to come to life and kill you. If it does come to life, okay, we messed up his teeth. He's not going to hurt you. All right, sorry, I didn't mean to get sidetracked with that. I just
No such thing as sidetracking on Karmic Dynasty. No such thing. Not at all. And from you, and this is your creation. I stay in awe. This is a lot to accomplish. A lot. And you know, for me, a lot of people talk about what's wrong. They talk about things that's not right. They don't do near what you've done to replace the violations of the tarot decks that I've seen until I saw your creation. So you call it sidetracking, I call it continued knowledge is a gift. Now, speaking of gifts, continued knowledge, would you and Kaya speak about your passing this to her for her to continue?
Oh yeah.
Generational.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm teaching her the business side of everything, and the creative side, and you know everything else as we go, and sort of trying to give her some of that knowledge so that she can kind of pick up where I left off. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to live forever, so she's going to have to do that for me.
Definitely a lot.
That's good. All right. Did either one of you want to speak more on that?
No. I think I don't think there's much to say. It's a lot of tedious work. You know, there's a lot of tedious work involved. It's really not exciting. The creative process is exciting, right? The research, learning stuff, that's exciting. The actual business side of it, like, okay, we have to order inventory, we have to package it, we have to do this, we have to do that, you know, unloading boxes off of containers. There's nothing exciting about that. It's just tedious.
And Kaya?
I'm still in the learning process of everything. I mean, from the knowledge about the ancient Egypt to the cards to the business. I'm still learning. It's a very tedious process, as he said, even just from the learning side, like trying to take it all in and get it down, and I'm still learning. So I'm thankful that you guys have me here with you guys today. I'm thankful that you are keeping me in tune with this and showing me everything. I'm just grateful.
Yes, and one day you'll have your own platform sharing the knowledge. She said yes. Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's
in regards
basically
to,
it for me.
All right. And are we continuing with the presentation?
I would say we could just show the rest of the cards, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on them. So they're the Remit cards. The minor arcana cards are called the Remit cards. Remit is the Kemetic word for humans, peoples, or mortals, right? The Remit cards represent the mundane world, the mortal world, just the everyday physical world that we're in. There is an exception, though, which is the aces. The aces actually serve as the bridge between the spiritual and the physical world, and the immortal and the mortal worlds in this deck. So they're actually represented by the tarot. So we'll just show these cards. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but as you can see, Ace of Scepters is Ptah. It represents fire, and you notice the red border, red inner border. Ace of Ankhs is Khnum. And by the way, Ptah, the reason Ptah was chosen is because he is god of architects and what's the word I'm looking for here? And craftsmen. And craftsmen use fire when they're building things, right? He's literally a direct line to fire. Ace of Ankhs is Khnum. Khnum actually molded people's bodies. He molded the bodies of all living things from the clay of the Nile. Heru, the Ace of Swords, is, well, you notice the blue border on Khnum. The white border, which represents air, and because he is a falcon god. And the Ace of Scarabs is Khepera, which, if you look, the inner border, Kepra. If you look, the inner border is black, representing the Kemetic soil, the black Kemetic soil. So you have fire, water, air, and earth represented. And that theme with the inside border colors continues throughout the cards. So you can easily identify which element each of these is identified this with. For the kings and queens, we actually went back and found real historical figures. And we tried to reproduce their images based on what we could find. But in a lot of cases, they just didn't have a lot of good images available, right? There weren't a lot of good drawings, a lot of good pictures, a lot of, But for instance, King Narmer, the King of Scepters, was the first ruler of unified Kemet, of the unified two lands. And he was a warrior king. Pharaoh Djoser was the pharaoh who actually built or had the pyramid built, the first pyramid, the step pyramid at Giza built. King of Swords, Ramses the Great, great conqueror, warlord. And King of Scarabs, Amenhotep III, actually a very prosperous pharaoh. He was personally worth $6 trillion in today's money. All right. And for the queens, we did the same thing. First, we have Queen of Scepters is Pharaoh Sobek-Neferu, which Sobek-Neferu means the beauty of Sobek. She was a famous, actually the first attested female pharaoh. We also have for Queen of Ankhs, Tedashiri, Mother of Kings. She actually gave birth to and raised like 3 generations of pharaohs, and she advised them all. She outlived, her sons and her grandsons, and she just kept advising her descendants. So she was just known as the Mother of Kings. Pharaoh Hatshepsut, who was she was a very good pharaoh, very prosperous, had a great reign. But after she passed away, she actually built some of the greatest, just some of the greatest structures ever seen. She actually built temples and statues and just all kinds of monuments that were just on a level that were completely much higher than anyone before her. But after she died, the male pharaohs who followed tried to erase her name from history. They tried to take her name off of everything she had built. They didn't succeed, but they sure tried. And of course, we have Queen Nefertiti, Queen of Scarabs, one of the most famous iconic images of a female queen, Kemetic female queen. Literally, you see her face everywhere. I mean, literally on any sort of, it's on T-shirts, it's on just everything, just everywhere. But her name means, Nefertiti means the beautiful lady has come.
Now, I'm going to take a few moments to share some personal moments, some personal developments since having this set. Now, actually, I have 2 sets. I have mine. I bought one I have one for me. I didn't say I bought one. I have one for me, and I have one for my grandchildren, the Dynasty, the ongoing line, like Michael and Kaya working together to continue the knowledge. I am working as well. Now, in reference to the Queen's cards and in preparation for today's presentation, I spoke with Michael about how pharaohs and women, I don't see that as much as I see and hear the men pharaohs. For me, and especially with promoting homeschool, I homeschool, my grandchildren are being homeschooled so far. I am able to pass this on to my grandchildren, and they can see women pharaohs thanks to Michael. You know, I've seen my share, but to see them and know them, they're labeled and they look like me and Kaya and Michael and us. This is the curriculum. This is now the part of the curriculum for my dynasty. And I appreciate Michael for sharing that. I appreciate the way you've expressed it. And you could have did it any other kind of way. Like how, let's say, Barbie at one time was color, just the color change. No detail, no representation truly was represented. The representation is here. I have I want to say now, okay, I ain't gonna talk about, anyway, I was gonna talk about, I have mostly girl grandchildren, but I don't, about half and half now. But either way, I need them to know, you know, and I had at an early age at school, let me see, first grade, I had an interest in this culture. I've had an interest for a long time. And the only reference I had were the books in public school system. And we know what those books share. Now, my grandchildren at an age earlier than myself have access to this gift, to know and see beforehand, and to know if they ever see the Cleopatra movie, that no, she was not Elizabeth Taylor. He did not. That's a falsehood. So I appreciate Michael being here. I appreciate Kaya being here, and I definitely look forward to what else Michael and Kaya have to share today. I appreciate y'all listening to me for a little bit.
Thank you. No, that's exactly right. I mean, that was one of the important things for us, right? Was, you know, like when I looked at those queen cards, well, the king cards and the queen cards, but really the queen cards, when I zoomed in on that, I really wanted to represent, you know, powerful female, you know, rulers and important, you know, queens and you know, matriarchs, just important, you know, powerful women. And there's plenty of them in history, right? We don't have to make them up or leave them nameless. We can literally go in and show who they are, what they're about. You know, we know their history. We know what they did. You know, Hatshepsut, when I was researching her, it was crazy to me that the men who came behind her tried to bury her legacy. They literally carved away her name on the temple walls, on the giant temple she built, right? The statues she made, which, you know, engineers, architects, and you know, scientists all agree these are much higher quality, much better than anything any men had ever built prior to that. So when, you know, some jealous man came along and just, I'll just take that, chipped it off. Well, fortunately, we have X-ray technology, and we can see, oh, well, someone just chipped this away, and we can see what the original name was here, right? It's like, it's not that hard now. But they literally just tried to erase her completely from history, which was absolutely insane. Sobek Neferu, right? When she became emperor, she had to, or emperor, I'm sorry, became pharaoh. To become pharaoh, Sobek Neferu, she literally had to play this political game where she literally would dress in men's clothes at different times, right? She had to hide her feminine side in order to take power. I mean, it was insane. Just the stuff that these women had to go through to get to a level of power and retain that power. So yeah, they definitely deserve credit.
And one more thing, while I'm holding up this box, because we've already showed the box, I need us to know that this is just the shipping. It says ready to ship. This is just the shipping box. It appears as the box that the set is in, but the box that Michael and I shared with you, it's inside this box. So when you receive this, and it's probably got the little, the plastic damage from, the postal service, and it's being handled and thrown around, and you see how this
Yeah,
this is just the shipping box.
yeah,
You'll
that
get a
ready to
shipping
ship
box.
thing is an Amazon
Okay.
thing. Yeah. If you don't, they're weird at Amazon. I've had
I
lots
just
of
wanted to share
problems.
that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I've had lots of problems with them where they rip boxes open, and if you don't put something on it. So, all right. So the next one is the Warriors cards. Now, the Warriors cards are equivalent to the Knights in the Rider Waite Tarot. Knights are a European concept. They don't have any place here. So we replaced them with Warriors. In this case, we have the Mace Warrior. In this case, the Warrior is holding the Scorpion Mace, or Scorpion Mace head. Basically, a mace is a blunt instrument with a big stone on top that was used to just, beat. Um, we have the Warrior of Ankhs, as what they call the Patati Archer, who were well-known archers in the Pharaoh's army. The Warrior of Swords, the Naktua Warrior, Naktua means strong arm boys. So they were the infantry. They would go in and literally just hand-to-hand combat the tough guys in the army. And we have the Warrior of Scarabs, who is the Marianu Charioteer. Marianu Charioteer. And the Marianu were pulled from the higher classes of society, right? They were the sons of princes and noblemen and high officials, and they would go out and ride the chariots and fight from, basically fight for the king or for the pharaoh from the chariots. One interesting thing about the Kemetic army, right, the pharaoh's armies, was that the pharaohs were one of the first people to actually divide up their army into separate units that had different functions, right? So you have a unit of archers, and you have a separate unit of infantry, and you have a separate unit of chariots, right? And they're all kept separate. They're trained separately, but they're trained to work together as one big army. Prior to that, it was just all kind of mixed up, right? These guys actually pioneered that. The pharaohs actually pioneered separating the army into separate units and then fighting, right? Actually fighting as one big army, using their different specialized training. And we still use that today in modern armies. All right, scribes. Scribes replace the pages in the European tarot cards. We don't have any use for pages. Scribes are essentially the wise men. Some of them, they were the men who could do the writing for you and record transactions for you, write holy text for you, read for you, just whatever, all that kind of good stuff. They were basically the wise men. Many of them ended up being, a lot of them were political appointees or actually worked for the pharaoh. Some of them were actually priests. So it varied. But we have, in this case, we have Setka the scribe, who was an ancient scribe. We have a little bit of information about him going back in the past. And his various duties. He worked for the pharaoh. He was doing a lot of different. He was He was a prince, and he was also a scribe in the house of Pharaoh Jededfri. Imhotep the Wise, of course. I think everyone probably knows who Imhotep is. He was the architect of the first pyramid, the Step Pyramid at Giza. He was one of only two people who were actually deified or declared to be Neteru after his death. He was only one of two people that received that, but he was a lot of stories about him and his abilities. Right, he was just like a genius, and they said he could heal people and he could even bring people back to life. So very powerful. Viceroy Setau. Viceroy Setau is he was a viceroy of Kush under Ramesses the Great, and he had to basically assess the entire kingdom under Ramesses. And of course, under Ramesses, the kingdom was sort of expanding. So little bit harder if you have to keep track of something that's growing. Vizier Pintu, chief physician to Akhenaten, and vizier under Pharaoh Tutankhamun. All right, then we get into just the numbered cards. So you have the tens, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about them. They're equivalent to their Rider-Waite equivalents. I will say one thing about the Ten of Swords real quick. The Ten of Swords in the Rider-Waite deck is just death. It's it. I mean, it's the real death card. The death card in the death card in tarot doesn't really mean death, right? It's not like physical death, right? It means like the end of an era or something like that. The Ten of Swords actually means physical death. It's done, right? And that's, as you can see, the guy has 10 swords sticking out of his back. That's pretty dead. But if you notice on this card, we also have the falcon flying over, and he's carrying the Shinring. We also have the sun coming up from behind the mountains in the clouds and peeking through the clouds. It sort of represents that, okay, this is the end of the physical, but in the Kemetic tradition, the end of the physical is not the end. It's the beginning of the next phase, right? It's the beginning of the spiritual journey through the Dua. So it's not final by any means. All right, so I just want to point that out real quick. That whole death thing. All right, and the next one is the nines. Yeah, you'll notice, again, it's very similar. One of my favorite cards is this one right here, Nine of Scarabs. You know, she's treating herself. She's earned it, right? And the next one, the eights.
That's my favorite card too, as of today, because I've been treating myself really well.
You know,
Since yesterday. Oh boy, I tell y'all some stories for a future broadcast. On to the eights.
Yeah, well, that card really symbolizes, sort of, you've made it, right? You got there. We started from the bottom, now we're here, right? It's like, this is it. This is you have your servant waiting on you, feeding you figs. You know, you're lounging on a chair. You have the nice house in the background, the estate. I mean, it's like, you hit the top of your game on this one. All right, next one, eight of scepter. So the eights, again, very similar. I do like the eight of scarabs. Again, I tend to gravitate towards the scarabs cards because they're about money, right, and wealth. And hey, how's it going? Nice. What's his name?
What's your name? He said, "What's your name?" What's your name?
You don't know. My name's Mike.
That's Mike, and that's Kaya. That's Kaya's dog. And I'm Tisher. He calls me Tisher. What's your name? Christopher. Okay.
Oh,
This is Christopher.
Brother's name. Okay. Nice to meet you, Christopher. All right. So, the eight of scarabs, it represents craftsmanship. It represents taking pride in your work. And it also represents passing on knowledge to a younger generation, right? So the craftsman is working and he's doing a good job. You know, he's a master at his craft. And he's just passing that knowledge along to the younger apprentice. So, yeah, I really gravitate towards the scarabs just because, they're about money, wealth, success. So, but anyway. So the 7 cards, same type deal. Everything relates back to the Rider-Waite tarot cards. Okay, and the next one. The 6s. Same deal. The 6 of scepters on this one I really like. She is coming in sort of in a celebration, a jubilee, everyone around here is cheering her on. She's been victorious. She's riding the Apis bull, and the falcon is flying towards her. It looks like it's about to land on her scepter, her second scepter. So. All right. The fives tend to be a little stressful, but all right. And the next one.
That's what I was looking at. And
Yeah.
I have I've seen, of course I went through the cards, but today, right now, when the fives came up on the screen, that five of Ankhs, he looks like he's in distress.
And he is, but
Yes.
he's in distress because he's paying attention to, the Ankhs that have fallen over on the ground in front of him. So he's completely ignoring everything behind him. He's ignoring the Ankhs that are behind him that are still upright. He's ignoring the boat that's floating down the river. You notice there's no one on the boat. In theory, that's probably his boat that he could use to get across if he was paying attention. But now it's going to go down the river.
Down river.
Yeah. He's getting stuck.
It means focus.
Exactly. He's paying too much attention to, the stuff going on in front of him and not enough attention to everything around him.
And to me, it also appears to be like he's paying attention to something that's already happened. It's already done.
Yeah, exactly.
They failed. It's over. Pay attention to the ones that are still standing, or they're going to fall. And then you're going to be just staring at all five Ankhs laying down.
Yeah.
And then you still can't get home because your boat gone. Come on now.
That's it. Spill milk over the bridge, right?
Or it's taking longer to get home. It's taking a little while longer. Yeah. Okay, and we're going to the fours.
Fours. Again, just related back. The four of scarabs. The guy's just greedy. He's being stingy, and I really like this one because he can stand up, but if he stands up, he's probably going to drop his scarabs, right? He's going to drop his coins. If he walks away, he's going to leave one on the wall. So he's stuck. His greed has got him stuck there. He literally can't move. So that one seems to be a sign that if you're too greedy, you're gonna just make yourself stuck. The threes, same thing. This one I like the three of Ankhs, just because they're celebrating, they're enjoying themselves. But I also like the three of scarabs because you have the two older, possibly wiser guys, sort of helping out the younger guy, with his work. The three of swords is an interesting one. That jar, the red jar that we're seeing on the screen right there with the little plumes on top and the wings, that is the hieroglyphic symbol for the Ib, or the heart. Right? So what you have here is three swords sticking through the heart of the Ib, or the heart. Now, in ancient Kemet, the heart was more than just a blood pump, right? They actually believed the heart was where all of your intelligence was where all your emotions were. It was where all of your, everything, everything that made you a person versus an animal was in your heart, right? Your heart's what made you smart. Your heart's what made you think. The heart's what made you feel. In fact, we still carry that tradition forward now when we say things like, you broke my heart. You have a broken heart. You didn't really break my blood pump, right? I mean, you just hurt my feelings. That's completely different. But because they believed all that, they also, at the same time, believed that the brain was, that's in your skull right now was pretty much useless, right? Basically, the brain was supposed to be a giant air conditioner to keep your body cool, right? And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense if you don't know anything, if you don't have the technology to understand brain cells, know what a brain cell is, right? Or how nervous system works, that kind of stuff. If you look at your car, your radiator is kind of coiled, right? It kind of goes loops and loops and loops. And that's because that helps it cool more efficiently. Well, when you take the brain out, a lot of coils, a lot of loops. So the thought was, well, that just helps the brain cool efficiently, which is why they had no problem, although they would preserve your heart when they mummified you. They had no problem just, churning up the brain and ripping it out because it was like, oh, that's just useless. Get rid of it. So, all right, next one. Sorry, I sidetracked. The twos. Right, here we have the twos, two of scepters, two of ankhs. I like the two of ankhs here, and I also like the two of scarabs. Like the two of ankhs, it's two lovers, basically, maybe a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or potential whatever, and they're sort of almost making a commitment to each other here. And then you have the cobra, which is facing outward. The cobra can be a symbol of protection, or in the right circumstances, it can actually be pretty dangerous. So, it's one of those things you have to be careful. And the two of scarabs, again, we have the infinity symbol, which shows the cobra biting its own tail, which, as I mentioned, is a Kemetic symbol that was first found on coffins. And this one's all about, keeping your focus even when there's crazy stuff going on around you.
And right quick, now this is something I share with Michael as well in studying the cards and getting to know them myself. So I have the set. I talk with Michael, and every time I speak with him, he just shares another story, different, something new. He shares more knowledge. And then as I'm going, and every time I talk to him, I pull the deck out or the books, depends on what's going on. And if I'm looking at the book with him, I'm looking at the deck as well. And each time, even though I've looked at these, I see something different in them. So in regards to the card, I remember you mentioning the biting its own tail.
Yes.
The serpent biting its own tail. I heard you, but today I'm just seeing it.
Yeah.
There is, so like you said, there's so much in these cards, the layers. That's what you were calling the layers in these cards. And this is not like an overnight event. This is something that's going to need to be studied to have full knowledge, and anywhere near full knowledge of it. And actually, it's right here. Yeah, the two of scarabs. Very interesting. Beautiful card. Beautiful card. And of course, I have the infinity sign on my logo, Karmic Dynasty. So definitely taking notes. Definitely taking notes. And so now we are going on to the.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you're right on that. It's there's a lot of layers built into the cards. A lot of things that are kind of built on top of each other. But I designed it originally to be sort of backwards compatible with the Rider-Waite Tarot, which is the most popular tarot deck around ever, mostly because it's out of copyright. But basically, I designed it to be backwards compatible with that, so that so that people who know the tarot, right? They know how the tarot cards work. They understand the system. They know all this stuff. They can learn the Kemetic side of it without having to, throw away all that other knowledge. So you can sort of build on top of what you already know and just learn new stuff. But there's a lot of layers in there, and you can, sort of look at the cards and tell what they are. So you can do what they call sight readings, where you don't really have to explore in too much detail what this card actually means or anything like that. Although, personally, I think that's the most fun part. But, you just kind of look at the cards and get a mood from the cards, right? Like the Aten card, you can tell that card just peace, tranquility. It just, it just feels good and peaceful and soft and warm and wonderful, So you pull that card, okay. Yeah, it seems like things are going to go good, right? So it's sort of like that. You can sort of do readings by feel, or if you want to dive deeper, that's why we have the layers built in. You can sort of dive deeper and start going into more and more symbols and figure out what those symbols mean and how they interact with each other. And so there's always more levels for people that really want to dive into it.
Very good, very good. He said there are so many. I
Oh,
said so many what? I said, oh, pages. He said, yeah. So there are so many.
there are.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason there are so many, that's a good point. The reason there are so many, there's about 226 pages in this book, which is the guidebook to the tarot. The reason there's so many pages is because we've added a lot of the original stories to the book, right? So one of the things that people say to me or said to me originally a lot was we're going to after they get the tarot deck, they say, well, I'm going to have to go research this. I'm going to have to go study up on this. I'm going to have to go learn this, right? Well, we kind of went and did that for you. So we went back to the original scrolls and we got all the stories and, the tales. And behind all of the tarot cards in here, the 23 tarot cards, 24 tarot cards, we actually added stories about each of the deities in here, so that you don't have to go through 20 different scrolls and then try to figure out what the stories are and all that. We took all those and added them to it. And then with this one, the Veil of Aset book, we actually added a bunch of tales just about Aset and her life, like from her birth all the way through her life with the king Asur, the pharaoh, to being resurrecting, to having her son Heru, resurrecting Heru. In fact, she resurrected Heru. She resurrected some random boy who died from a scorpion bite. She resurrected Asur. I mean, she has proven at least 3 times she can raise people from the dead, right? So there's a lot of those stories. All of those stories are included in this.
So are we prepared to have the giveaway now?
Oh yes.
Okay. Oh yes. Okay. So how would you like to proceed?
My favorite part. I know everybody
right.
has a favorite part too. Everybody like, wait.
The giveaway. The giveaway. All right. So the rules. You have to answer the question correctly. Michael will let you know if it's correct or not. And then contact me. My information's in the ticker below. And so then provide me with your shipping address. This information is needed before the broadcast ends. And then we'll get that set to you. So Michael is guiding us right now.
All right. You want me to ask the question?
Yes.
All right. So
Drum roll.
How do you want them to give you the question? You want them the answer? You want them to email you the answer, or you want them to?
Oh, they are apologies, gratitude. So I've given away items before, and my audience is aware. They type it in the comment section.
Okay.
So it's public record if you got it right or not.
Okay.
No, yeah, they not emailing. Yes. So yes, Michael, good question. Your answer. Michael's going to ask the question and type your answer in the comment section. And who is this here she ready? Look, I told you my audience, stay ready. Kathleen. Come, Kathleen.
Okay.
All right.
What is so? We mentioned earlier that Tahuti had a title. What is the title that we mentioned for him? And it means in Greek it's Trismegistus, right? But what is the title that we mentioned for Tahuti earlier?
Yeah, what does Trismegistus mean?
Trismegistus, yeah.
Trismegistus. Okay, what does that mean? Translate. What's that mean? 3 times great. Shante. Until this, we stay ready. I see you. All right, Shantae, I need you to send me your shipping information. We'll get that to you. If I need that information before the broadcast is over. Michael, how many giveaways we doing today?
We do 2.
2? Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. We with Michael. Michael got us. Listen.
Let me make up a question real quick. This is gonna be harder because I didn't tell you to watch it. So, oh, okay. Here's one. This is a card that we didn't spend a lot of time on, right? But we did cover it briefly. So the Empress card is the goddess Moot. Right? What does Moot mean in the ancient Kemetic dialect?
Interesting. Jeopardy music.
We mentioned that, and I mentioned it. I did it pretty quickly, though. We kind of went by it pretty quickly. But
Moot, M-U-T,
M-U-T
means what in English? Translation time. Okay. While we wait for an answer to come through, I don't know if Michael's going to do a backup follow-up question, give us another opportunity. Now, while we were rounding up, preparing for the giveaway, I was going through the screens to, again, some people came in later, so they didn't see why Michael created the Kemetic Tarot. And so I was just going
actually,
back
before you do that, you want to show them the Moot card again real quick, just so they can see it? Oh, never mind. We got a winner.
We got it, but that's a good, we're going to share it. And the answer, Mother Goddess. Yes.
It literally means mother, but she is the goddess. Mother. Her name is Mother. Yep.
AKA Kes L on Facebook. Yes. All right. So send me, Katrina Kess on Facebook. Send me your shipping information. And also Shantae Norvell. Send me your shipping information and I'll make sure you get the set. And now back to the panel. And Michael, how do we proceed?
Yeah, well, one thing about Moot, right? So Moot was Amun-Ra's wife. So they were married, and they had a son, and his name was Khonshu. And together they formed the Holy Triad in Thebes, the Holy Trinity in Thebes. So, sorry, another off-topic thing.
Yes, it just put me in the mind of another biblical reference. That's all. There's
a lot of biblical references that you can trace almost directly back. So, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And Katrina says gratitude, and love. Gratitude and love. And let's see here. Okay, so while I'm getting their information, again, I'm gonna remind everyone who's here, and for those who didn't hear it, we in the series we are preparing to have another guest, and she will provide live readings with this tarot deck. So we're looking forward to that. And Michael will be here again, and Kaya, to discuss more in detail the set, maybe more about the stories, the origin of the stories.
And the stories are.
Oh, and Michael's gonna do this spell. He's gonna show us how to.
Yeah. Actually, I did the spell. Well, in fact, that's in the book. That really talks in the book about how to do it. But I'll basically show you exactly how to do it. We'll go through it. We'll talk about some of the stories, and we can also talk about the. I think we also were going to talk about, in a future episode about how a lot of the stories, a lot of the themes and stories that were found in ancient Kemet, right? The ancient Kemetic tales sort of found their way into the Western world, right? Like we were talking about the fables of Aesop's fables, right?
Yes, and because I actually, excuse me, right quick, if I may.
Yeah.
I have already presented a nursery rhymes broadcast, and I promise my audience I will follow up with another one. So Michael and I are planning to have a Kemetic nursery rhymes decoded presentation. Stand by, y'all.
I can't guarantee they're going to rhyme. I can't guarantee they're going to rhyme, but
we're definitely sharing. We're sharing. So you were saying about Aesop's fables.
Aesop's fables, right? It's just like we were talking about the Lion King earlier, and how it's based on the story of Aset and Asur, right? I mean, literally, same type deal with Aesop. Aesop was a Greek servant or slave or whatever in ancient Kemet, right? He was in Kemet, and he actually heard all these stories, this oral tradition of all these stories where animals could talk and animals behave like people, you know. And he wrote those stories down and sent them back to Greece, and they became popular. And they call them Aesop's fables, but they were Kemetic stories that he heard. And we have other examples that he never wrote down. And I actually put a couple in a PDF that I sent out. I'll actually put it on this website as well, these stories on this website. But there's a lot of these stories, you know, the Greeks never had stories, for instance, with talking animals. They never did until they went to, you know, Kemet, until they actually met the people there. Then they said, oh, that's a cool kind of story. And then they started copying. So we'll talk about some of that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot there.
It is. And again, I'm looking forward to this series. Definitely, there's a lot, as Michael said. I've said earlier, there's a lot. Kaya mentioned the ongoing processes and learnings of sharing this knowledge and getting this set out to everyone that either purchases it, or gets it from the giveaway during one of the broadcasts. And also for me myself, it becomes a part of my curriculum, and I will share this with my daughters and my son so they can share with their children. And actually, the set is sturdy. We looked at the cards, and somebody already referenced how fire they are. There is the quality. So this is I plan to, yes, my grandson right here, he's gonna share with his children. This set is not
Why
cheap.
me?
Why you?
Yeah.
Why you what?
You just gave me that card.
I gave you this card?
Yeah.
2 of scarabs. I did. I pulled that out the bag, huh?
Uh-huh.
We're gonna do a live reading right now.
No.
No. Okay. No.
Oh,
All right. So,
Scarabs, that means he's about to get paid.
okay. You better to get paid.
No.
He said no.
About to make some money.
Yeah, but yeah, it's definitely there's quality here. And I know Michael spoke to me about the original set you had, and it was okay. You know, people accepted it, but Michael was like, no, it needs a little more. That's not acceptable. Yeah, he's of the, this is the no excuse zone on my platform. This is the no excuse zone. So Michael lives by that code, and he continued until it got to its perfection. The box again is sturdy as well. It just is not. You see, he's actually kid tested, mama approved. He's had these. He's looked at them. Y'all seen him. He's had the books in his hand. Did he go grab his cup? Did he go grab his crayons that he had earlier?
I didn't see that.
No, he said no, I did not see that. He is not going to color in these. A child knows the value. He didn't go take this in there and go color in them. And actually, he didn't go he just set it right back down here. He said that's not for the crayons. You can pass this on. And yes, I'm glad he's actually here. So yeah, is precious. It's not for Crayola. That's my piece right now. He getting some money, some. That's what Michael said.
Getting paid. He pulled a scarab. That's money. That's all money.
Yeah. That's all right. So yes, I'm not sure if you received the feedback from the audience. You were very busy giving us this knowledge. Yeah, they are sharing that.
Sorry,
this
I wasn't even looking at the comments.
Because you was teaching class. You was teaching that class.
I get caught up. Sorry.
Hey, we know, and we look forward to next time you come, because you were one of the times when you will be here again. You spoke about a class and actually teaching, having
Uh,
classes. Yeah,
no, that was you.
that was
That was all you.
me.
That was you.
Dang, did I just try to put that on you?
You did. You did. But
Dang shame. Dang shame. I think no, that was Kaya. Kaya's teaching classes. I heard classes and I heard teacher, so that's what I go.
I'm still learning.
You're still learning. Okay,
That'll be
okay.
my excuse.
Yes, and definitely gratitude. Amazing. Yes, everyone is appreciating you all, you both being here. And we look forward to the future broadcast of this series. And Kaya, what anything you like to share right now? I have your contact information in the ticker below.
Only if anyone is, if you're interested in looking for the products, they are at Amazon.com, at the KemeticTarot.net website. Also, you can reach out to my email, kaya@abracax.com, or reach me by phone if you're unsure of where to find it or if you have any questions. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And I know, was it Katrina Kess earlier? Hold on, was it
oh, there was one
spoke
thing I
about
wanted
the
to
cards
know.
in the UK? No, that was Katrina Barr, I think. Yeah, so Katrina Barr, you have concerns about getting the, not concerns, but questions about the cards in the UK. Contact Kaya for that information. And Michael, you were saying?
Oh, so also, well, just real quick, I'm working with some guys right now to try to get the cards into a bookstore in the UK. There's a couple bookstores I'm trying to talk to right now. I got a bookstore to carry the older set, which was the smaller set, but I haven't been able to get them together to carry the larger one yet. So I'll keep you updated on that as well. But Kaya, your background there, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
My background is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get out of the way of it, figure out which way to get out. It is a scene from the Day of the Dead, um,
Yeah, the Book of the Dead.
the Book of the Dead. Um, it is where they are going. Would you mind giving a little?
It's the judgment scene,
The judgment scene.
final judgment scene. As you can see, they're weighing Anpu is weighing the heart on the scales. Amit is down there. Tahuti is standing there recording everything. And you see on the left side, you see Ani. This is actually Ani's. You see Ani being carried in by Anpu. And then on the right side, you see Ani being hosted into the final, being hosted into the presence of Asur by his son Heru. And that's as far as that goes. You also see the Council of the Neteru sitting on top, and they're actually the deities that you have to pass. There's sort of a gate, to get into the final judgment. You actually have to recite the 42 negative confessions, the 42 laws of Ma'at, to these Neteru, and convince them that you're not a sinner before they'll even let you in. Okay, yeah, that's it. And I'll show you my background as well. So let me see if I can. Okay, so my background is it's from a coffin text. It's one of the coffin texts, and it's literally, this is Aru. This is heaven. This is paradise, right? Up here at the top, you have the people coming through, and they're the people over here, and they have to basically worship the gods, worship the Neteru, and then once they worship, they get on the boat and cross the other side. You notice all the water here underneath, and that this is a separate island right here from this one. From this one, there it is. So in other words, they have to worship the Neteru in order to get on the boat, in order to cross the other side. And then once you're in Aru, the thing about the ancient Kemetic heaven was that it wasn't quite like the Christian heaven. You didn't sit around, singing all day or whatever. You worked, right? Basically, if you were a farmer, you would go in, you'd harvest your grain, and then you would eat. Down here, they're harvesting and they're plowing with a cow to raise the crops. And then over here, they actually store the crops. Down here, you have a bunch of, where is it? Right here. Right down here, you have a bunch of trees, fig trees, date palms, just a lot of different trees that bear fruit. But the general idea is in the in the Aru, in the land of reeds, it was just like our world. It was just like the physical world, just like everything that you already know. But when you get there, there's no death, no disease, no pain, and you basically would continue doing what you enjoy doing. You'd still have to do some work, although they could bury you with a little clay people called Shabti. And if they buried you with Shabti, they would come to life in the Aru and they would do your work for you. So if you're lazy and you really don't want to do anything, just get them to bury you with a bunch of little Shabti. And when you arrive in the Aru, well, the Shabti go to work for you. And you don't have to do anything. So that was the conception of paradise. That was the idea of the Aru.
And another thing I meant to share earlier that Michael I would like for him to share one day is in getting this in the set, you faced some obstacles.
Oh, yes.
You fought through all of those obstacles to get this quality amulet in the set.
I did. I ran into a lot of issues with finding people that would produce it, finding people that could do it well. When I finally found someone that could do it well, he still messed up a bunch of stuff, and I had to throw a bunch of them away and make them redo them. So yeah, it was a little bit of a process.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate you moving forward through the obstacles. My grandson appreciates it, and he, I got in the city last night. So my other I have, let me see, four grandchildren I will see today and Tuesday. I'll see all of them at the same time, and I will be sharing the set with them as I have with Christopher today. And we appreciate you, Michael. We do.
Thank you.
On behalf of my grandchildren and my children, the dynasty, I am speaking. We appreciate you and your work and your efforts. Well done. And would you like to speak to us about anything else today?
You know what? I kept everyone for over 2 hours. I should probably, save some for the next show.
Okay, we could do that. So we'll schedule the next show. I'll post it and everyone will be there. And looking forward to that. I would like to have on the next show Lady Ma'at. So we can be a part of the live readings. So today, Christopher gave you a preview of a live reading. Him and Michael, Christopher and Michael shared a preview of the live readings.
There
Look,
are
I
no
can't even get Michael's name in there.
There are no mistakes with the cards, I'm telling you.
No mistakes.
When professional readers read them, if a card accidentally falls out, boom, that's part of the reading. The card wanted out of there.
Yes. So, and we look through the live reading. We look forward to the live readings. We look forward to more information, and we look forward to the giveaways. Yeah. So again, congratulations. And that's what's up to Katrina and Shantae for answering the questions correctly today. Those sets, will get those out to you. and keep you posted on those. And Michael and Kaya, on behalf of Karmic Dynasty, which includes my audience and the viewers, we appreciate you being here today. We look forward to you being here again. If you would, Kaya, once more, share with everyone who you are and your contact information before we go.
I am the daughter of Michael Coles, the creator of the content, and you can reach me at 256 with the number that you see below. I'm sorry, I'm getting ready to recite my number, but it's there below. Or at my email, kaya@abracax.com. And if you need, I can send you the link to the actual website to where you can order the card, where you can order as well. And just if you have any questions, just reach out.
And we will be doing so. And Michael, if you would once more share with everyone who you are and how we can contact you.
Yeah, you can reach me at abracax@abracax.com. I'll have links up at the kemetictarot.net website as I build it out. Like I said, please feel free to visit that site. There's lots of information on there. There's a lot of detail in there that we didn't get a chance to cover today. You know, a lot of detail that about all the different cards. A lot of stuff that we didn't even cover today about the card, even the ones we went in detail about today. There's just so much more information about them there. You know, definitions for different words. A lot of there's going to be some additional information up there, like I'm going to talk about all the different types of scepters, you know, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, feel free to visit that website, kemetictarot.net, and I'll have all the information up there, contact information, everything else.
Thank you. Thank you. And let's see. So Anouk Astma Atef Newt, Anouk Karmic Dynasty, Anouk Joy Allen, for those who know. Anouk, he would say Anouk Christopher. Christopher. All right. And if you all would stand by, I have a commercial. What? I have a flyer I need to share with you all for my tour. Gratitude. A few moments, please. Oh, where am I? Hold on, y'all. Huh?
That's right. Joy Allen. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The great goddess from the Karmic Dynasty YouTube channel. Okay, so you know she's going to be driving it. So you got to come see her. And she coming to a city near you. I said, look, listen. I saw the list. I saw Atlanta. I saw Virginia. Okay, I saw Washington. I saw Boston. So she's pulling up. Okay, Silence and Sound event and lecture tour. Where she's going to be dropping gems and illumination. Okay, I'm going to be tuning in. Each city is going to have its own topic. Each city is going to have its own topic. Okay, very interesting. That's a very interesting format. So I'm going to tune in and we got to check her out. I want y'all to be there. Okay, let's stay on the frequency, stay on that vibration. Okay, and support our beloved goddess. Okay, Wadu.
Sun Ra for the representation in my flyer. And also, again, Michael and Kaya for being here today. Michael has shared the Kemetic Tarot Veil of Aset. This shows what is in the set when you buy it, when you purchase it, and or receive the set here in a giveaway, as Katrina and Shantae Norvell has done today. So once again, I appreciate you all being here, and I will see you all next time. Peace and gratitude to you all.